So what I'm planning to do today is basically the continuation of what we have done last week, and then we will move to the new area. So just to recap what we have done last week, basically we discussed about working capital, what is working capital, introduction to working capital, why it is important, types of working capital, some definitions in terms of working capital, and also then we move to understand what is liquidity ratio, like current and quick ratio, which I told you that we will be discussing more in later topic. Also we discuss about efficiency ratio. There are three: stock turnover period, debtors turnover period, and creditors turnover period. Stemming from that, we calculated operating cycle and cash cycle. Also we have done two questions. One is basically to year on year, and then we took a particular year and we computed the efficiency ratio and see actually what were the results. And then we move to another sum, which is bit of advanced, where we tried to compute efficiency and liquidity ratio for relevant years, year one and year two. Then we compared what actually happened on the liquidity ratios, efficiency ratios as a trend. And then we discussed about what's like the working capital status, positive, negative compared to profitability. Then we opted to discuss about what is the the overall liquidity level, overall efficiency level in the firm, subject to some assumptions. And that's what basically we discussed during the last week. Also, I advise you in case if you are like computing particular sum subject to some assumptions, please mention the assumptions before attempting the questions. Like maybe example, when you are like using the average from year one and year two, you better mention I am taking average over the years and do the computation. If you are not using, again you can mention. In general, I told you, like if you take year on year comparison, so no need to take averages. But if you take 2 years and the 2-year data and you compute a particular year operation, the real results, you need to take averages. So that's what basically we did last week. So any questions from the last week discussion? Anything you need to get further clarified? Anything that you were not comfortable last week? Hope if you do have anything, just you can anytime mention to me, and then we will discuss, right? So today we wanted to discuss about estimation of working capital, which I told you last week. Actually we discussed something about static position. So giving balance sheet figure, taking a P&L figure, so we try to compute working capital ratios like liquidity and efficiency on a ongoing business where you have some data, right? You have some balance sheet data, you have some P&L data for previous years, and you take that and you compute for future. What would be my working capital? What would be my efficiency ratios? What would be my liquid ratios? That is all about historically, year one, year two, year three, right? Even management accounts was there, then it's current year. But we have not discussed how to compute working capital positions in future, especially in project financing. This is like futuristic forecasted computations. We need to undertake working capital computations for the future. So that's what we say estimation. Okay, so we are going to do that. Generally, when you say the estimation purposes, you can see there is a sort of a template. And the template, as per the screen, it says right? If you see this, estimation of current assets. Basically, what are the current assets we have? In general, we have cash and bank balances. We have inventory. It could be raw material, WIP, finished goods, right? Especially this is manufacturing firm. And then we have debtors. So if we have all those things, then the addition of all those things would be your totality of the current assets in a particular firm, particular proposal. Similarly, current liabilities also you can estimate. What are the current liabilities? It's like creditors, wages, overheads. Generally, these are the three things we understand as main component of current liabilities. There are so many others, but for the computation purposes, we are taking these three for easy understanding. And then we have these three together, we calculate it as the total current liabilities. So when you know the total current assets, when you know the current liabilities, then the deduction from assets to liability would tell you the net working capital. We are not stopping at that point because this is a forecast and futuristic approach. Because there may be some errors on your assumptions, then we take a margin of contingency, maybe 5%, 10% of, there's a plus minus margin in terms of what we have computed. So then the 10% or whatever that contingency margin had to be added there, then the total, whatever the working capital requirement is, will be the addition to net working capitals will be, that is the component we are talking about. So this basically, to give you a further understanding, say if you want to put up say a hotel, a factory, some other operation, so you are projecting your working capital requirement for future. Not like what we have done last week. Because we assume my inventories, my WIP, my finished goods, my debtors will be like this. My creditors will be like this. So 5%, 10% contingency will be like this. Then this is the total working capital I need to run this project. Maybe a hotel, maybe a factory, whatever. So part of that could be permanent working capital. Part of that would be temporary working capital. That you can decide. When you go to the bank and say, this is, let's say, 10 million total working capital requirement for this project. So out of that, there is a permanent component, maybe 60%. So it could be something 6 million. The balance could be 4 million. Then you discuss with the bank and say, for the permanent part, I want a term loan. For the temporary part, I prefer ODO, short-term revolving working capital line. So that's how you discuss, structure, negotiate with the bank to finance your working capital. So first you understand the difference between existing scenario and the forecasted scenario. The forecasted scenario, the main difference to existing is you try to project it for the future. One, and you need to do some assumptions. When you go to the next question, I will the illustration, it will be further explained where you don't have any previous data. You take some inputs from industry, trends, similar projects undertaken previously, and say, my raw material requirement is maybe 1 month. WIP requirement may be 2 weeks. Finished goods may be 2 months. Like that, you take some numbers and then use that tenor and numbers into the other variables, and then you do your projection. So that's what basically the estimation of working capital is all about. Right. Any question on this before we move to the illustration? Then we can understand. First, let me clear the concept. Is the concept clear? Estimation is about futuristic, using some assumptions. Data may be again taken from the context of the particular project or the other project similarly undertaken. That's what generally about this. Any questions? No? Okay. Then we will move to the particular question, so it will give you an idea. Right. This is the question that we need to understand. We need to compute. Here, XYZ company sells goods, a part of cost of production. Following are the annual figures. Basically, this is a company. So we have been given some numbers. Sales, 1.8 million per year. Sales has been given. Sales figure is a projections given. Within bracket, it's a 2 months credit. What it mainly tells about to you. When you say 2 months credit, sales, what could be the link? Any idea? Any idea? When you say sales linked to 2 months credit, what it could be? What number, what sort of variable it could link? Debtor or creditor? Andrew? Irosha? Any idea? Samindri? Roshni? Rachini? Udita? Any idea? When you say sales 1.8, that's about, annual sales. That figure we need for most of the computation. If you go by the efficiency ratio computation we have done last week. When you say within brackets is 2 months credit. Generally, what it's going to link? Debtors. Correct to this, Rachini. Correct. That's about data. So the 2 months credit of sales is this one. Roughly 1.8 is for annum. Then 2 months, it's straight away. You can say this is my data figure. So that's how that you put into the equation, right? Next, we'll say material consumed 450,000. Within bracket, say 1 month lagging payment. Means material consumed, yes, that's a raw material per annum requirement given, and then say 1 month lag. That's how you pay. When you say 1 month lag in payment, it talks about creditors. If you know the per annum requirement and 1 month requirement, 450 divided by 12 is basically gives you 1 month lag in payment. That's a creditors. So creditor figure is also given. That's how it basically tells you. Wages 360, again 1 month lag in payment. It's the credit payment, the creditors, and wages that you pay 1 month lag in payment. So 360 divided by 12 gives you an idea about how you pay your wages, the liability figure. Manufacturing expenses 1 month lag, 480 is the per annum requirement, like overhead figure. But again, if you remember, under current liability we have material, we have wages, we have expenses. Those are the liabilities. So it has been given here within brackets. Admin expenses, again 1 month lag, 120,000. Sales promotion expense paid quarterly in advance, 60,000. That is something expense again, but it paid in advance. It's again because it's a liability that you are talking about, because you have paid in advance, right? It's a current liability, sorry, current assets, because you paid 1 month in advance, right? So then further below say company keeps 1 month stock of RM and FG. That they talk about some material requirement. Also keeps 100,000 in cash. So required to estimate the working capital requirement of the company, assuming 10% safety margin. So that is the question we have been given, right? So so we'll go one by one, and as per previous template, right? As per previous template, what we need to do, we have to follow this exercise, this sheet. Cash, bank balance starting, inventories. So what could be the RM, what could be the WIP, what could be the finished goods, what could be the debtors, and it will come as a totality, right? So first go line by line, and what could be the cash and bank balances? What could be the cash and bank balances? It's difficult to find, so you have your sheet and see whether what could be the cash and bank balances. First take a try and then we'll discuss the answer. So what's the figure? Cash and bank? Because it has been already given here. 100,000. So first line is done. Then what we have? Then we talk about stocks. Stocks, there are 3 components: RM, WIP, and finished goods. What could be the raw material? Is there any clue to tell about the raw material requirement? We have per annum requirement, that is 450. That's the second line. And then somewhere down the line, it talks about stock requirement. As a stock, we are trying to keep raw material for how many months? Can you find that line? Generally, you are trying to keep raw material for how long? Roshni?
This says 1 month.
1 month. So, do we know the per annum requirement, raw material?
Yes, material
Yes.
consumed.
450 per annum. And then that's about 12 months. Then for 1 month, what would be the answer? 450 divided by
12.
12. That's fine. Then we need to find WIP. Please keep for a time being, and then see what's the finished goods. Again, it talks about 1 month. But when you are trying to compute WIP and finished goods, the equation could be a bit different here. First, I will explain the equation and then we'll see the exact answer. Not like other cases, here we have been asked to forecast, project the numbers. Then we need to know up until work in progress, what are the expenses could incur onto the raw material. So raw material, straight away you can take 450 divided by 12, because at that time there's no value addition done on the raw material. It's basically annum requirement divided by 12, so we have raw material. Then what would happen is, from raw material, there may be direct wages coming into that. There may be direct expenses coming into that, right? So while these things are in preparation, so we call them as WIP. But remember, when come to the WIP, the work has not been completed because it's been done, it's been processed. So you can't take full wages expenses onto that, manufacturing expenses onto that, right? And then even the admin expenses onto that, right? But generally, that's how it has to be. But here, we have not been given any clue to undertake or compute WIP, because it is basically say raw material is 1 month requirement, finished goods is 1 month requirement. That's been given. WIP, we have not been given any clue how to compute. So we are unable to compute WIP here. But in case, if they give us to compute the WIP, then there is a kind of equation, which I will explain and go to the finished goods for the further understanding. It means, let's say you have raw material, and then there is an expense called wages paid. There's an expense called manufacturing expenses. These two are directly related to WIP level. Y, material, direct wages, direct expenses. All are a variable expenses. Based on these two inputs, raw materials could become to WIP state. Generally, how we are going to compute that is to add up raw material plus wages plus manufacturing. Now you have a figure for annum. Then you see what is the WIP requirement. If it is a 1 week, if it is a 2 week, if it is a 3 weeks, or if it's a 4 weeks, like that. Similarly, like RM, raw material, it has to be given. Let's say 2 weeks. Then what is your suggestion? Now I have a figure for 1 year. How I got the figure? Raw material, we added direct wages, we added direct expenses. Here 450 plus 360 plus 480. That's a per annum requirement for total WIP value. Raw material, we add up these things, it's a situation. So value of this, a value added stock is now this much. But I want to take as a WIP 2 weeks. Then what's your suggestion? Total weeks per annum is 52. 2 weeks, what the requirement? Ideally, it should be totality, that is the raw material, direct expenses, direct wages, that's a total figure, divided by 52 into 2. But WIP is in intermediate stage, not raw material, not finished goods. Then we assume the 50% of this totality to be taken for the computation. So then the introduction here is raw material added by wages, added by manufacturing expenses, total divided by 2. Now we have a figure. That divided by 52 into 2 will be the WIP figure if we ask to compute. But here it has not been asked to compute the WIP. For this question, WIP is 0 because there's no clue to compute the WIP. But if it has been given, that has to be computed as what I have mentioned. Let me know that you got the concept. Nirangi, Nirosha, Rachini, Praveen. You got the concepts WIP and how the WIP arrived, why we take half of that, and then 2 divided by 52 or 1 divided by 52 or 3 divided by 52 is basically it's a base. The base has not been given. If you understand how you arrive the total figure of WIP state and why you take the 50% is what you need to know. Have you got that? මොකද මෙතන නැති වුණාට සමහර තැනකදී ඒක අපෙන් අහන්න පුළුවන් ගානක. So that's why I wanted to mention the equation. When you go to the finished goods computation, it will be further easy to understand. Nirangi, yes. Nirusha, Rashini, Raveen, Roshni, what about you all? If anybody got not very much clear on that.
So can you explain again?
Right, Chagita?
I'm not.
Right. What about the others?
Explain it again, sir.
Okay, right. So basically the concepts like this. Now we have been given raw material requirement per annum. We have been given wages requirement per annum. We have been given manufacturing expenses requirement per annum. Now, if we want to compute raw material, no argument because it is given material consumed per year. Then we say how many months as per the annum requirement. You just say here 1 month, 1 divided by 12. So raw material given, that's done. But now we need to compute WIP, which in this equation This question has not been requested. But if it has been requested, then we need to know how we arrive the total WIP status of a firm, of the manufacturing cycle. For that, what you could do is, we have per annum material requirement, we know per annum wages requirement, we know per annum overhead requirement. So you add all these expenses together. That gives you a figure. Means it is not material, it is not finished goods. It is in between status. But there is a value added expenses on raw material. Since this is a WIP, work in progress, we are not taking that total figure for computation. We take 50% of that as the WIP, value added component. In this equation, 450 plus 360 plus 480. Altogether, we get the figure and then divided by 2. It is the WIP value for year. Hope you got it. Then we have to see whether what is the...
Sorry to disturb you, sir.
Yeah, Ravi.
Is it something that always we are taking considering only 50% as the WIP?
That's right. 50% of that, the value added component. Raw material, direct wages, direct expenses. All the 3 component has to be added. මොකද ඒ තුන තමයි raw material වලට add වෙන්න පුළුවන් finished goods වලට කලින් expenses ටික. Direct wages and direct materials. Sorry, direct wages and direct expenses. Labor and expenses. When you add up all those things, there is a figure, but a total figure you are not going to take for computation. Every time you get 50% of that. So that's the figure. Then you see what is the clue for us to go the working capital computation. Sometimes it's a 1 week of that requirement, 2 weeks requirement, 3 weeks requirement. So based on that, if it's a 1 week, that total figure divided by 52, because 52 weeks per annum. If it is 2 weeks, total divided by 52 into 2. If it is 3 weeks, total divided by 52 into 3. That's how we compute the WIP figure. Thanks, Ravi. Chagita, what about you? Okay. Some questions, they ask us to compute WIP also, but here it has not been asked. But I, explained it for better understanding in case if we have been asked it. It could be even the first question also, MCQ. They might give raw material figure, they might give direct wages, they might give direct expenses. එහෙම දීලා අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් WIP compute කරන්න for 1 week requirement කියලා. Then you have to add up all those things, divide by 52 will give you the WIP requirement. Right. Then we go to the finished goods. Finished goods, they say 1 month. Requirement has been now given. 1 month has been given. Then we need to understand how should we get the total value added figure up until finished goods status. Means raw material to be added by relevant expenses up until finished goods status. Means raw material, direct wages, direct expenses, admin expenses. Remember, we are not going to add the sales promotion expenses. Why? It is beyond finished goods. It's something relevant to debtor. But if it's a debtor computation, then only you add that and see what the debtor requirement. So up until finished goods state, you add up all expenses to the raw material. Raw material, wages, manufacturing expenses and admin expenses. Then you have a total figure that is per year. And you see finished goods is a 1 month requirement. Total figure divided by 12 into 1 will be the finished goods requirement for this working capital. Hope you got it. Main difference is 50% will be the WIP case, 100% will be the finished good case. Why? When come to the finished goods, we assume all expenses incurred. Now raw material has become a finished good. So that's why we take 100% of that expenses. When come to the WIP, you are getting only 50% of total expenses. Another difference is when you say WIP, you get only direct wages and direct expenses. When come to the finished goods, in addition to direct wages and direct expenses, you getting admin and general expenses also, except selling and promotional expenses. Hope you get it clear, because when you see the computation, it would be further understand. So basically, I just want to see that how that has been arrived. So let's see the example, and if not clear, then again we will discuss, right? Here it has not been given. Let's see, I have that answer somewhere down the line. Right. Can you see the screen, please? Naveen, screen එක පේනවද?
Yes, sir.
Right. So then the first line, cash and bank balances, that as per the equation. So we are comfortable. That is okay, 100,000. Then there is another asset or current asset, that's a prepaid expenses. If you remember that, that is all about, they say they are paying 1 quarter, right? So they paid it upfront. So 60,000 divided by 4 is the 15,000. Right? That's E26 about 4. It's E26 is like here. This is what this one. Sales promotion expenses paid partly in advance. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි මොනවා හරි එකක් ගෙවන්න තියෙන එකක් අපි කලින් ගෙවලා තියෙනවා. Like prepaid. Maybe rent prepaid කරන්න පුළුවන්. Some sort of advance payment එකක් තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. So that is will be the 60,000 divided by 4. I hope that is clear. Right? If anybody is not clear, please let me know. Right? 15,000. Raw materials, I told you, that's a per annum raw material required divided by 12. Here E22 divided by 12 is basically the E22 is this one. Here material consumed for year is 450 and divided by 12 is the 37,500. WIP, I told you, in this equation they have not been asked to compute, but if it is asked, we have to use the equation we discussed. Finished goods. Finished goods, what I told is, right, something divided by 12 because it's a 1 month requirement. The importance is we need to know what are the expenses incurred on that. E22, E23, E24, E25. That is E22, E23, E24, E25. These 4 has been taken into account. Material consumed, wages paid, manufacturing expenses, admin expenses. හතරම එකතු කරනවා 12න් බෙදනවා. If it's a 2 months requirement, divide by 12 into 2. That's how the finished goods requirement has been computed. Hope it's clear. Any questions? Right. Debtor. Debtor here it mentioned about 2 months requirement. Within brackets raw material එක දාලා තියෙනවා 2 months requirement. Then sorry, sales වලින් 2 months requirement කියලා එකක් තියෙනවා. So if you go to the sales here sales 2 months requirement credit, that is relevant to debtor. We know sales is 1.8 divided by 12 into 2 will be the answer. Here 300,000 is sales divided by 12 into 2. So when you have all those things, cash 100,000, prepaid 15, raw material 35, WIP not given, finished good 117,500, debtors 300,000. Altogether we have the current assets of 570,000. Please let me know anything is not clear to you. I can explain it to you because this is very important, because this could come to the MCQ paper. This could come even for the case study like part B also. This we can give not totality, but let's say some of the numbers, and you might be asked to compute the current assets, or you might be asked to compute the current liabilities. Even the first question MCQ, they might give maybe WIP or finished goods. They say 1 month requirement. These are the expenses. What is the finished good requirement for working capital? Only other thing we need to know, what are the components in current assets? It's like cash and bank, prepaid expenses, like inventories, raw material, WIP, finished goods, and debtors. All other things could come as the component. So that also we need to know. Any questions before discussing the current liabilities? Go through it again and see whether that you can get an idea.
So, excuse.
Yeah.
If we take in the cash and bank balances,
Right.
if something for bank balances, what is the state? Is it says as the bank cash on balances or
Yes,
something?
it's something the question itself will mention it's a cash and bank balances. It's like there's nothing, the material difference between the cash at bank and bank balances, but it's something it could be given anyway, but like cash and bank balances of this much. So we'll take it as one of the current assets items.
Okay, sir.
Compute current and the chance computation will be on the rest. Any other questions? Sandushi? Shashika? You're fine? Okay. Then let's move to the current liabilities. The current liabilities, again, it has been given in different assumption. So creditors, wages, overheads. The creditors, it says something here. Creditors relevant to material, right? It's 1 month lag. Wages, again, relevant to 1 month. Expenses, 1 month. It has been given without any problem here. Expenses, like there are 2 components. Wages, 1 component. Material, 1 component. All 1 month. When you go to the creditors, 37,500 E22 divided by 12. What's the E22? This one. Material 450 per annum, 1 month lag, divide by 12. Right? Easily you can get it. And then wages, that's about E23, that's this 360 divided by 12. When come to overheads, Not only manufacturing expenses, there are some other expenses also paid 1 month lag. That is 480 plus 120. මේ දෙක එකතු කරාම 600,000 divided by 12 is 50,000. So you add up these three, this one, and then total current liability is something about 117,500. So we know what's the total current assets, we know what's the total current liabilities, and then the difference between that is net working capital. Current assets, current liabilities, net working capital. Then we say 10% is the contingency margin. So that could be assumed maybe 5% or 10%. So we'll add up that also as a contingency margin. So when you add up these two, it's come to 497,750 is our average working capital requirement for this requirement or for this question. Any questions? Because liabilities has not been very difficult. It has been given 1 month, 2 months, or whatever. So then you need to understand what are the figures relevant to, what are the component items relevant in liabilities. That is creditor, wager, overhead. Right? Then also you need to understand what are the items under the current assets. ඒකයි අපි මුලින්ම කරන්න ඕනේ. Then we have to see what is the requirement. 1 month, 2 months, half a day, half a month, 1 week, then that one. Then we have to say, if it is like finished goods, we get all expenses up until selling and distribution. If it is WIP, we get expenses from raw material plus direct wages and direct expenses. And then we take 50% of that for the computation. අන්න ඒ ටික විතරයි අපිට අලුතෙන් දෙයක් ආවනම් නැත්නම් මතක තියාගන්න ආවනම් කරන්න තියෙන්නේ. Any questions? All fine? Okay, right. So then what we'll do is,
So
yes, please.
what is the manufacturing expenses?
චුට්ටක් ඇහෙනවා අඩුයි රවින්ද කතා කරන්නේ but not clear.
The overhead expenses are manufacturing expenses and admin expenses, never.
හරියට?
And divide by 12.
That's right. Because when you say overhead, sometimes it could be a couple of components here, but there we are not getting the admin we are not getting the selling and distribution. That's what when you say overheads, that we talk about direct expenses to the business. Beyond finished goods expenses, we are not getting here under current liability level.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Right. Any other questions? Right. So then, with that, it's over. Right. So basically, what we have been discussing so far is about, a kind of a working capital computation requirement, importance of working capital, and so those things, right? We might have to take some of these equations again on the financial statement and ratio analysis, but this is a very important area where we have got so many questions. Every time we are getting a question as a part of the financial statement or it's a separately. So take a kind of, the detail, closer look on this and do as many as, questions possible in the past papers, right? If you do have anything, please let me know. Even when we're discussing another topic, that won't be a problem. Please let me know. So we will discuss then and there whenever you have some issue, because depending on, our timetable, we may or we may not have adequate time to do a detailed past papers to great extent, but we obviously will do some. But in case that I'm not sure that, how best that, we can have our exams if the things are prolonged like this. But anyway, we need to cover everything with kind of adequate examples and illustrations so that you are very much comfortable in case if the examinations are held. But on the other thing is, given the uncertainties that we are experiencing, so it's good that you then and there practice these concepts. So otherwise, what could happen here is, now when we don't have when you are trying to do it at a later stage, probably everything may not be in your mind. Then again, small things may not be exactly being picked by you at that time. So it's good that if you do, maybe I know may not be easy, but especially like break even and working capital and other computations, try to do it at then and there. If you do have anything, sir, you can even let me know next week or even a later stage, because then we can discuss and clear it out instantaneously. Otherwise, what happens is, like later when you are trying to do is, you might assume and you do something which may not be exactly correct. Okay, fine. So what we'll do is we try to do a small sort of exercise here. Let's see whether we can. Right. Can everybody see the screen? Praveen, you can see it, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So this is the kind of, the working capital test, right? This is not very difficult one, but there are 10 questions. What I will do is I will go question by question, and then you have very easy pickup of answer like yes or no or one or two, like that. So first we will do the sort of questions, and then what you can do is you can take question number 1 and you put the answer like that. So later we will see the the answers. This should just to familiarize the total concept, right? So that's working capital. So not only what we discussed during the class and something general also. This gives you some idea about overall working capital concept, right? So let's start. So I'll go one by one, and later we will discuss the question, right? Okay. If you do have anything, please voice and let me know that is not clear, because now I am switching the screens. Now I am only on the working capital test screen, so that it's easy for you to understand. And if anything not clear, just voice it and say you are not clear. The test consists of 10 questions designed to test your understanding of working capital management. The links provide you with the choice of answer along with explanation and solutions. You will need to calculate it to complete this test, right? So we'll start, right? First question, why is working capital management so important? A, B, C. So you can take a minute, not even less than that, and have the answer A or B or C. And then we'll go to question 2, 3, 4 like that, and then we'll do the what you call move to the next one, right? Why is working capital is important? Why is working capital management is important? Right, hope you have answered that. Then question number 2. This one. Working capital is A, current assets versus non-current assets, current assets versus current liabilities, non-current assets versus non-current liabilities. Take 30 seconds and do your answer. Right, hope you have done it. Question number 3. This one. Efficient working capital management can assist with sustainable growth, will result in increased taxes, will immediately increase profits. Okay. Then we move to the next question. Question number 4. Credit control is about accounts payable, accounts receivable, and creditors. Credit control is about managing accounts payable, account receivable, creditors. Okay, then we'll move to the next question. Question 5. JIT, just in time, is an efficient way for management to control inventories and carries little risk. True to some extent. True to some extent. So we'll move to next one, question number 6. Factoring of accounts receivable is always recommended. True or false? Factoring of accounts receivable. Then we go to question number 7. It is always recommended to take as much as credit that suppliers offer. It is always recommended to take as much as credit that suppliers offer. Question number 7. Then we go to the question number 8. What is the key benefit of forecasting? Key benefit of forecasting. Focuses management on financial targets and ensures that there are no surprises. Reduces the need to pay dividends. Reduces the need to pay dividends. Then question number 9. Pro forma statement show historical position, current position, future positions. Historical, current, future position is a reflection of pro forma statements or not. Last one. Effective inventory management can release cash that can be invested elsewhere in the business, rarely brings long-term results, increases the risk of obsolete inventories. Release cash that can be invested elsewhere in the business, rarely brings long-term results, increases the risk of obsolete inventories. Okay, right. I hope that you have got it, not very difficult, but then we will see the answers, right? So here there are 3 answers. Anybody can say answer. What is the most correct answer there? As you are thinking, ensure A or B or C. Why it is important? Anybody can suggest it. What the answer? A, B or C? Can somebody suggest? Ravi? Roshni? Rachini?
To ensure liquidity.
Ensure liquidity, yes, I think that's the correct answer. So let's see. Answer A. Yeah, it's a correct and vital factor. So you can see, you can also other questions, but that was basically the correct answer. Working capital is A or B or C? Obviously, it's something, this one, right? B. You can check with, this one, no, try again. This one, try again. This is the answer, right? Working capital is about current assets versus a current liability. Efficient working capital management is Out of these three, what do you think? A, B, or C?
So the screen got stuck or something like that.
Is it? Now? Question 3, can't you see it?
No, sir.
No, eh?
No, sir.
Okay.
Now can see.
Right. Okay. There may be some issue there. Right. So, what would be your answer? A, or B, or C?
A.
A. So I think everybody is going with that. If you select A, then this would be C. Efficient control of working capital will release cash to enable the company to grow. Obvious, right? So if you manage it, the working capital, then you have excess cash. Maybe collection is good, maybe managing your raw material, then that can be used for some other investment purposes. Fine. So I'll use like this because otherwise it's not. You can see the other when you say put other, it says it's not correct, right? This one. Credit control is all about A, B, or C. What could be the answer? Either B, the C. Credit control is something what? Relevant to debtor or creditor. Let's say we select account receivable. So account payable, creditors, it's wrong. Right? Accounts payable and creditors are amounts that are owed to supplier. Right? So try again. Account receivable is the answer, right? So that is a managing your data book. It's that the credit controller's role, right? Credit controlling, right? Just in time inventory. I think this won't be difficult. Sorry. A or B? Ravi, Samindri, Tanya. What could be the answer here? True to some extent. Maka the answer. Roshni? Mirangi? B, right? True to some extent, right? Yes, Rachini. So the answer is B, true to some extent. Right? Correct. Then question 6. Factoring accounts receivable always recommended. It's false, right? So you can't, because it's a costly exercise. Every time you can't do. There are so many other, solutions also, but you can't always recommend it. So it's a false. Company financial difficulty usually expensive in financing, right? So when you are trying to do it, others would see it as you are difficult in managing working capital. As much as credit, obviously false, right? Because you have to take calculated amount, not all credit. Because if you are like taking all credit given by the suppliers, you may be at a risk. Here, you have to appreciate that open discounts of 2 to 3% are offered to pay suppliers quickly, and this represents an annual rate excess of 30 to 40%, right? So you can't take always, right? Because if you say 2 to 3% per say something about month or given time, so if you try to do it for annum is something 30 to 40%, so which is high in terms of business. So you have to do it in a more controlled manner, right? You can't say always you are offer that. Key benefit of forecasting, A or B? It's obviously A, right? Right, because not to reduce dividends, but it's more proper growth. Pro forma statements. Pro forma, it's a futuristic, not historical, not current, it's a future. Correct. Future portion. Last one, effective inventory management. A, B, O, C. Effective inventory management. A, B, O, C. Release cash, rarely brings increase the risk. So obvious not the B, O, C. Answer is A. Right? Answer is A. Right. Fine. So just because actually what I wanted to do here is just to get an idea overview about overall working capital concept. Any that who got like 10 out of 10? Anybody? 9 out of 10? Then 8 out of 10? Great. Ravin, Roshni? Anybody? 8 out of 10? Good. Yes. See that blot means, right? So you up and arms in the sense you have got it, right? So 7, 6, Andrew, fine, great, right? So I think just not for sake of getting scores, but I just want to share something that it's like overall overview, like not only what we learned here. So when we are thinking about working capital, that you need to get that sort of knowledge, right? When you are trying to read something, and then it's better that you get understanding of the overall working capital and what are the important things and what are the extensions that through the working capital concepts like that. So you need to know, right? That's it. So basically, I think we are done with the working capital. Yes, Chagita, thanks. I see noted your score. Any questions? Any questions? Anything to get it clear? Fine. Okay, then so we can keep a stop on the working capital. Then we can move to the next area, that is now. So far we learn about break-even analysis and working capital financing. That basically will have an impact on overall project financing concepts, project financing inputs, right? So then we trying to understand two areas, that is financial analysis, non-financial analysis, right, into the project and in general businesses. So financial in the sense that we try to understand financial statement ratio analysis in detail. Non-financial is basically there are so many non-financial tools that we can use to assess the project, like SWOT analysis, PESTEL analysis, the ECG matrix, or rather we can use Porter's 5 forces model, product life cycle, and soft matrix. I mean, then 4Ps or 7Ps in marketing, right? So many models that we can learn into understand the environment, the feasibility of a project financing, about marketing feasibility, technical feasibility, environmental feasibility, legal feasibility, right? So many things that we need to learn. Right? To support those things, we need to understand some non-financial tools, which in turn helps us to understand these different feasibilities. So having said that, so we'll start the non-financial tools, right, which have been already shared with the presentation and the reading material through Google Classroom. So you can read it up later stage. So let's start that in the non-financial tools. Okay. start with SWOT analysis, right? I think that would be easy. Right. Hope you can see the screen. Right. Right. So SWOT analysis. So what is the SWOT analysis, right? Sometimes actually we might have learned this some time back, right? In different stages, different disciplines. But again, we'll try to understand this for as a recap because it's important, right? First, I will let you know the importance of this as in terms of examination. We are in some instances we have seen that this has been tested as what is SWOT analysis, list the main items and compare the SWOT versus the PESTEL. So like that there were questions. So generally this gives us an understanding about a very quick analysis on business in terms of strength, weakness, opportunities and threats. So strength and weakness is relevant to internal environment, opportunities and threats relevant to external environment. So internally something, let's say your net worth, your capacity of the internal processes, then staff strength, their qualifications and skills, your the management competencies are internal strengths. Then it comes to opportunities that's come to the external. That's about what could the environment offer to you. It's something about new business opportunities, reduction of tax, government support, open up new markets, right? New market segments, like so. Those are some of the things that externally. So if say it could be even personal. So let's say you trying to undertake so next level of your career, next level of your life, next level of your examinations. So then basically you also can do a SWOT analysis in terms of your SWOT. What are my positives? What are my negatives? What are my opportunities? What are my threats? In terms of career growth, also you can do a SWOT. In time to time, it's good that you also undertake a SWOT analysis with respect to you. Then only know where I am. If I want to go to next level, let's say in 3 years' time, I should be the branch manager. Next 3 years' time, I should be the regional manager. That's my career target. If I want to from there here to go there, what is my present status in terms of SWOT? If I'm going to a desired state to that, what should I use? How am I improve my strength? How am I weaken my weakness further? How I get the opportunities out there? I am minimize the threats that encounters during my path. So that's what our strategy is also. If you know SWOT, then you can use those within to reduce your weaknesses, reduce your threats, and explore opportunities. That's the basic understanding of SWOT analysis. Okay. Why use SWOT? Because actually this is basically maybe an examination question also. He might ask about what is important, why we use SWOT tool, right? How could the SWOT tool could be used in the business? So like that, there may be questions. So you can ask, you can write some, answer based on these facts, like, give a SWOT basic introduction and what is S, what is W, what is O, and what is T. And then you can, use some of these things to complement your answer. Structured analytical framework, obviously structured analytical, because it will try to scan out SWOT with respect to individual, organization, a business. Can be used in conjunction with other tools like Waters 5 forces, pestle analysis, because it's not used alone. It can be combined in conjunction with other available non-financial. That's also a good thing, because it's not isolation. You can use it and you can get the output of SWOT into pestle, or output of the pestle into SWOT. So like that, you can vice versa use this tool for the betterment of the decision making scenario. Helps to focus on areas of strength, recognize limitations, develop opportunities in the most promising directions. That's what the strategies we can derive out from the SWOT tool. We just discussed the previously. It's quick and easy, simple, quick, easy to learn, because not like other tools, it is easy to convince to somebody, easy to understand, simple to explain. Use only 4 and straightforward. Everybody understand what is strength, what is weakness, what is opportunity, what is threat. So easily explainable, easily implementable. So that's why we use SWOT tool here. Then we go one by one as what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, opportunities and threats, because in case if the examiner wanted us to give a kind of a breakdown and a kind of a small write-up, you can use this. Resources and capabilities that can be used as basis for developing a competitive advantage. It's a good word, because these are the positives: resources, skills, capacity, capabilities. You can use any word as a base to develop, achieve, or create a competitive advantage. What are those? Generally, say you are good in studies. So you have banking, you have some masters, you have some other diplomas. So means that you are very good at studies. Then you can use that as the competitive advantage in an interview, whereas the other may not have achieved that qualification, or you have achieved some merit passes in some banking subject, whereas others may have not. So in a given situation, compared to others, you are having a competitive advantage in terms of qualification, or in terms of experience, in terms of new product development, in terms of capturing new markets. There may be several things which you are capable of. In other terms, we say it's a core competitiveness, because you are having it with you, whereas others don't have. Then you have competitive advantage. So you have a better network, you have a better skilled staff, you have higher financial resources which others don't have. Then you can make that as a competitive advantage. එහෙම නැත්නම් බැංකු දෙකක් අතර කම්පීට් කරනකොට මට බ්‍රාන්ච් 300ක් තියෙනවා, අනිත් එක්කනට බ්‍රාන්ච් 100යි නම් තියෙන්නේ. Obviously I have a competitive advantage over branch network. Hope you getting me. Then characteristics that can be controlled, because strengths are characteristics that can be controlled. Maybe your education, maybe your skill, maybe your financial resources and all that. So you have controlling power over that particular item, that particular strength. That's again better. So how will you use it? What to, when to? So that basically the qualities or features of strength. Further it says, don't be modest, be realistic. If you are having any difficulty with this, writing down the list of characteristics of relevant company and its product. Some of this will hopefully be strength. Remember that not all strengths offer an advantage over competing techniques. Example, all techniques generate global products, then although a strength is not an advantage. So it's basically, what it tells is, now if say you want to do a SWOT with respect to you, or you want to do a sort with respect to a company, with respect to a business, then you can't quickly identify all our strengths, all our advantages. So what you could do is you can list it down. List it down and see what are my strengths. But remember, this is on a comparable platform. Let's say you have MBA, you see, yes, it's a competitive advantage if you consider yourself only. When you compare with another person going to an interview, he also having an MBA, then it's no more a competitive advantage. You're getting my point. But having MBA is a strength. But always it's not advantage depending on what you are going to do and what platform you are competing. Let's say you have MBA in Postgraduate Institute Management. Another person having MBA, it's not a very reputed institute, obviously. Then you have advantage. When you go to the interview panel, of course, in front of interview, you know, PIM MBA represent a lot compared to other. 2-year rigorous study. So I just take an example, right? So then you have a competitive advantage. Hope you got it. Weakness. Some cases, weakness is the flip side of the strength. Say weakness is a flip side. Let's say now state-of-art technology, large capital investment. Automated may be considered the strength, but the other technologies don't share. It also may be considered weakness if the large investment limits the financial resources available for training the specialists required to use this equipment to distribute the data. That's, you know, a classic example. Let's say you have the superior technology compared to all industry players. Yes, you are say that, you know, maybe if you're under printing, you say 8 color printing machines, you own those things, right? But think the investment, the financial resources that you have incurred is huge compared to rest of the players. When you try to compare in the market, you have to take into the investment gone into that machines or technology. In order to achieve that, you need to price it higher, which is not competitive in the market. Maybe customers not asking that much of fine tuning. One way. So you are not competitive enough. Number 2, you have incurred so much of financial resources into the technology and the machinery, so you don't have adequate to do marketing and advertising and capture other markets. That's another loophole, because though it's a strength, but now it has become a weakness. Third, to hire, train specialists like, you know, the technicians on that, so you don't have adequate money or hire that much of caliber people to here because it's now lack of financial strength. So means that somewhere it could be a strength, but now it's a weakness for you because now you can't grow, you can't capture, you can't compete. Similarly, there may be so many other weaknesses. Maybe your staff is not capable. You don't have adequate financial resources. You don't have adequate number of branches compared to somebody else. That's a weakness. Okay. Opportunities. Opportunities is analyzing the external environment, where what you have out there, you are trying to compete with another person, and then you see what opportunities. You may have both have the opportunity, but you have a better chance to capture those opportunities compared to your competitor, because you have other resources, other skills, other capabilities to reach there before him. So how the general opportunities comes? Example, development in science and technology, new opportunities. Changes in market, national, international scale. National level, international level, market going to change. So then opportunity. Changes in life patterns. Changes in government policy, right? Let's say no more imports, exports promotion, domestic production. So then it's good, no? Right? So if you are in manufacturing, you have a better chances compared to importers. Then an unfulfilled customer need, because there may be some unfulfilled needs. It's an opportunity for you, right? Especially these days, everything comes to online, right? Maybe 2 years back, nobody talks about online learning except e-marketing kind of thing. Online learning is not the kind of thing that people would love to like it. But right now, it's maybe everybody's preference, right? Even now, if you take IBSL, now they are going to plan it to online lecturing even after the pandemic is over. You presume someday it's going to be over. Even that now they are ready to do online in addition to physical. So for that infrastructure, everything will be ready. It's a new opportunity for IBSL to capture audience throughout the country, right? Now, Jaffna students no need to come to class right now because he can follow the lectures online. Somewhere down the line, they might thinking about do online exams, right? There may be, the possibility they can do that. I know very easy to do online exams, like foreign examinations are conducted. But similarly, there may be an opportunity. So if it is so, I mean, you need not to come to a center. You can do it at home. This is an opportunity. So you need to be ready. So other people also be into that market, but you have a better chance. You have brand, you have staff, you have infrastructure. So you can easily go there and capture the market before the other people are doing. Now, example, the opportunity that right now they do free online lecturing. Rest of the team cannot do. Rest of the players cannot do it easily. But IBSL can do. Why? Now, finally, the students has to come to sit the exams. They increase some examination fee. Ultimately, you offer free of charge. They come to exam. They get some payment in terms of in form of examination fee. But rest of the classes cannot do it because anyway they have to pay their lectures and infrastructure cost to be managed kind of thing. But this is opportunity IBSL saw it. Under pandemic, difficulty, so they offer free. Even in future, they can offer free of charge. I mean, even the physical class, they can offer free of charge. So it's easy for some students also to undertake it free of charge and later take exams when they have time, when they have financial resources, they can attend the exams. It's a good opportunity. Okay. Threats. Changes in the external environment may also present threats. That is, changes in the environment could have a negative impact. Change in demand, new technologies, new regulation, government subsidy, competing technologies, economic sustainability, like what's happening recently in Sri Lanka about pandemic, and then dollar issue, balance of payment issue, inflation issue, and then economic growth issue. Those are no threats, right? Which could be something stemming from the environment, which may not have the control. Like you can do something, but it's at cost, right? Those are the threats in general. So we now know what are the syntheses, opportunities, weaknesses, threats. But remember, these are subjective. These depend who are your competitor. As I was telling, all you can list it, and when you are trying to compare, the competitive advantages depend on who your competitor. And then based on that, you have to selectively take a couple of strengths, couple of weaknesses, couple of opportunities, and couple of threats, and then you develop your strategies when you are competing your competitor to maximize your competitive advantage. Right. before we come to the, this is like final SWOT analysis, the progress, successfulness. First we discuss this and go back to the exercise. A word of caution, remember that. SWOT can be very subjective. Don't rely on it too much. Two people, two applications rarely come up with the same final version of SWOT. It could be different from when you undertake and your friend undertakes on a same object, because that's it subjective. How do you think? Based on that, it depends. Be realistic about the strength and weaknesses. You have to see realistic view on my strength, my weakness. Analysis of case study should distinguish between the state of art of the technology and potential or unproven technologies. Right? When you talk about the technology superior, state of art and everything, fine. But you need to have very much cautious about potentiality, unproven technology, the cost attached on maintain those technologies, the support skills, competencies. So everything is important. Always you should not encourage, business to go and get, the best technology the world is having. No, it should be in line with your competitor, line with customer requirements, line with other infrastructure. All right. Be specific about the areas. Like when you are implementing, practicing SWOT, it should be very focused. Right? Specific, not gray. Right? Here and there, no, you can't do it. If you are uncomfortable, if you are not clear, so it's not your strength. So keep it aside and work on what are the possible strengths, what are the weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Short and simple. Complexity is not so great. If you do over and over and further detailed analysis, may not give you the correct picture. Simple to understand, simple to explain. So take very positive and explainable SWOTs and then work on that. Finally, again, SWOT is subjective. That's how generally we understand SWOT analysis. Right. So what we'll try to do is, in order to further internalize this, we'll undertake a small study here as a group work. So before that, any question? Any question? Any questions? Okay, right. So then what we'll do is, we'll select, say, two banks. One could be a commercial bank, one could be government bank. So for the commercial bank, we might say Sampath Bank or commercial. In the government, we say People's Bank or the Bank of Ceylon. So any suggestion from the audience? What is the private bank we are going to select? Commercial, Sampath, what do you prefer? Anybody can suggest here. Shall we go with the Sampath Bank? Okay. Then as a government bank, we'll say Bank of Ceylon. Okay. Now take 15-20 minutes and conduct a SWOT analysis. Right. So let's say you take Sampath Bank versus the Bank of Ceylon and compare what is Sampath Bank is having as against Bank of Ceylon, as strengths, as weaknesses, as opportunities, as threats. Suppose they want to, both banks, they want to introduce, say, new product line or new market segment. So that's what they are trying to do. So as a Sampath Bank employee, you can do that. As a Bank of Ceylon employee, you can do that. Either way, it will work. So if you think about the Bank of Ceylon, you compare the Sampath Bank. If you think about the Sampath Bank, you can see your competitor as Bank of Ceylon, right? So take at least 2 strengths, 2 weaknesses, 2 opportunities, 2 threats. Well, right, it's now 9:35. Start among yourself and maybe 10-15 minutes. So we'll discuss the outcome. Okay, start. If any questions, please ask. If not, you can start. Take a paper and have a 4-quadrant SWOT. So Sampath versus the Bank of Ceylon. And what are the strengths of Sampath versus the Bank of Ceylon? What are the weaknesses of Sampath as compared to Bank of Ceylon? What are the opportunities Sampath Bank is having? What are the threats Sampath Bank is having? Because let's say Sampath wanted to go into the market with a new product or new sort of concepts to capture the additional market, additional customers. So the only competitor we see is the Bank of Ceylon out there. So what are my SWOT analysis and what are my strategies based on the SWOT? That's the exercise. So that could be an examination question also. Prior to that, we need to ready for that. So now you can start. You can either take Sampath versus Bank of Ceylon, or you can say BOC as your analysis as against Sampath. Either way, it will be okay. So let's start and take 10-15 minutes, and then we'll discuss the answer. Okay. And we check 1 or 2, so then we can at least contribute in next week also. Any, if you take about the strength, what could be the strength that you will list compared to Bank of Ceylon, where Sampath Bank is having? What are the strengths?
Sampath is having technological innovativeness compared to BFC.
Yes, that's acceptable answer. I also actually thought in that line. Basically, they have superior or basically rather than customer friendly, innovative technology comparative to Bank of Ceylon. Any other?
They have younger staff than the Bank of Ceylon people.
Yes, they have youngest and maybe what you call very energetic, right? More customer friendly staff compared to a Bank of Ceylon. Fine. Suppose if we think from the Bank of Ceylon angle, then you are comparing Bank of Ceylon versus the Sampath. You are in the Bank of Ceylon status, and then what do you think about the strength they have?
They have the branch network.
Very good point. Yes, they have a branch network compared to Sampath, maybe 260 to 300 or 400. They have a branch network so that they can have a better access to clientele. Fine. Any other?
Since they're a government bank, more people tend to go to government institutions.
Government backing, stability, recognition, right? So the people tend to go to Bank of Ceylon compared to Sampath because people perceive Sampath is a better, stable bank because it's a government, right? It's related to, it's owned by government. Very good point. Any other? What about the brand? What about the financial, say, what do you call balance sheet?
From the balance sheet wise, asset wise, BOC has around 3 trillion, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
3 trillion, and whereas Sampath is having less than that.
Very good.
That
That
is
is
another
there.
advantage for BOC.
Yes, in the brand also, they are at very much high compared to Sampath. So then, so I think you just get what I wanted to tell you, like when you are compare say Sampath to Bank of Ceylon, and if you are in the Sampath Bank front, then you have to think about what is my competitive advantage compared to Bank of Ceylon, where I am going to get on board new customers or new product. Superior technology, loyal or whatever, the very customer-friendly staff are an asset to me. When I am competing with Bank of Ceylon, say in introducing a new product, I should market or I should strategize based on my advantages. Then I am obviously I am less branches, then I can't say 500 branches through I am doing networking is not a kind of a better strategy. But what you could do is, as Sandushi suggested, since I have superior technology, I can counter a branch network threat. Instead of branching out and do marketing and do selling through branches, I can do internet-based alternative channel customer approach because I have superior technology through kind of an app, through kind of a web, through some other means. I can approach customers. That's how I am, take the advantage of not having branches but having superior technology platforms. Hope you get what I basically meant. Is basically it could be subjective. That's one. And I need to understand who my opponent is. Based on that, I am developing my strategies to compete with my opponent and deploy strategies to capture whatever a desired objective. That's how we have to do. Fine. Just to think about some weaknesses. Weaknesses is basically what Bank of Ceylon is having their synthesis. Could be my weakness, right? Then it's easy. Then when you are thinking about weaknesses, you just go to the Bank of Ceylon wicket and you see what its synthesis. Obviously, it's a weakness of mine. Anything you have identified to that effect? Chagita, Sandushi, Ravi, any weaknesses from Sampath Bank point of view?
Employee turnover.
Employee turnover, I am exactly not sure about how high the employee turnover in terms of Sampath Bank, but maybe agreeable subject to correction. So that could be a high employment turnover in terms of Sampath. Right? That's what you wanted to say, right? Because people are leaving out from Sampath, right? It's
Yes.
a problem for them. Okay. Any other?
And product knowledge and skills.
Product knowledge and skills, you see that, Bank of Ceylon is having the better than that, right?
Not like that, not against, but the thing is, according to the products that we have, the employees' skills and knowledge about even our products, sometimes lesser.
Okay, understood. Point taken. Right. What about any other branch network?
Lack of marketing on their new products.
Okay, so marketing in the sense that you mean to say financial resources limitation or?
No, they don't advertise much because they have a lot of innovative products, but they don't take actions to market it.
Yes,
they
you mean to say it could be due to financial resources, or it could be due to some sort of issues. Whereas you take Bank of Ceylon, they can easily do it, even because they are brand and all that will make them a long way, even a small advertisement. So that's what you mean to say, right?
If we compare,
pardon. Please proceed.
And the thing is, they have the government backing, basically.
Right.
But
so of course you don't have it. Right.
Yes.
That's a very good point. That's actually I'm waiting for that. Since that Bank of Ceylon is a government bank, obviously we are at a disadvantage in, let's say, introducing the product, depending on the product, right? So suppose if we want to capture, for example, government executives to offer housing loans, Bank of Ceylon is obviously in a very good position to do that, basically because the salaries might go to the Bank of Ceylon and People's Bank, government backing, and then the government direction could also lead to go to government bank rather going to Sampath Bank. We are at odds, right? So you get my point, like so depending on the product, depending whatever.
So rather than taking the housing loan, basically the pension loan.
Yes,
they are doing their best.
They are doing their best. Basically, much of the pensions has been routed to government banks.
Yes.
Yes, correct. That's what I mean. Say that.
However, sir, let me comment on that also. However, the thing is like this, because of the weakness is from the BOC end, they don't have the motivation, or they don't have any focus on those things to increase their portfolio in that product.
Okay. Okay.
That's one of our advantage and their weakness.
Right. So that means your advantage could be like you have a better that, you know, the loyal to competitive to capable and customer friendly, more proactive employees, staff is
Customer service.
Customer service. That's what that could be a strength. That could be the weakness from Bank of Ceylon. But either in the other side is like the other side is when the, you know, government backing and the brand name, the established network, balance sheet, and all that is a weakness for us, because we don't have that cash reserves, we don't have that brand name, we don't have that government backing, we don't have adequate branch network, are some of our weaknesses.
Exactly.
Right. So hope that I think you got some idea on what exactly we need to do in terms of practical approach, not theoretical. In practical, let's say you trying to do a SWOT analysis. It could be institution to institution, business to business, individual to individual. You have to be more objective, not subjective. Generally, it is subjective. You have to be specifically select 2-3 points as your strength, as your weakness, as opportunities, as threats, and then you develop your strategies. Right. So hope the time is up. So what we'll do is you can also work on the Bank of Ceylon and Sampath Bank exercise during the week, and come up next week. We'll have some more thoughts. We discuss maybe 5-10 minutes among us prior to moving to the pestle analysis next week. So just take a look on what we have done on working capital and do it again, the computations. If you do have any questions, please let me know during next week. So we will try to finish it off, any ambiguities, any clarifications further, because it's very important, two areas like working capital and break-even analysis. So thank you very much for joining me today. And as always, I wish everybody be careful, be safe. You know, times are not very great. So let's meet next week at scheduled time. And again, thank you. Stay safe, team. Okay.